Holy jump scare, we are live. Welcome to the Chain Dogs podcast, where we talk about everything theme parks, amusement parks. And today we're talking a lot about scare attractions and Halloween. So yeah, welcome to the show, everyone. And welcome to the show, Mikey from Scare Track. How you doing, man?
Hello. Yeah, man, I'm all good. How is everyone on Chain Dogs?
Yeah.
All good.
Feeling good. I'm ready.
Sweet.
Every time we take a week off, it feels like we've been gone for like a month. Anyone else feel that way?
Well, because you take a week off, you're basically taking 2 weeks off, aren't you? Because you know.
Yeah.
So
to be fair, I was well ill last week, so I was glad we didn't do it secretly.
I was literally gonna do it. I was so snowed under with work. It's that time of year. But yeah, let's see everyone in the chat. Yeah, we got who we got? We got Kira. How you doing? We got Ads. We got that ginger one. We got Joe.
Kira again.
Kira again. We got Bart. We got Karen. We've got yeah. There we go. Is Sean a bit quiet for everyone else?
No, if anything, he's extra loud.
Let me see. I can't turn it up anymore. So,
But
yeah,
normal to me.
Good. What is normal? What is normal?
What's normal, guys?
What's normal? But yeah, so we're gonna mainly be talking about things, scare events that we are looking forward to, and also because we've got Mikey who has basically done most of the scare events that have previously been in the UK. He's going to tell us, some ones that we maybe not have thought about. So yeah, get your questions in the chat. Or any scare events that you're looking forward to going, and I'm sure Mikey can tell you something more about them. Or well, it's not exactly going to slag him off, but don't go to that one.
Maybe now,
Who knows? He might.
Spicy.
I would have had a
the
couple.
reason you're invited on.
Yeah, just to give you the tea. Still the tea.
So today we had, was it today or maybe it was yesterday, mate? The time is non-existent for me at the minute. Nemesis Trains, that was on about.
Yeah.
Was that yesterday?
That was yesterday. Yeah.
Nemesis Train. It's been revealed. They said this came out of nowhere for a lot of people. Didn't realize that was going to do a big PR thing on it. But yeah, the new trains have they keep calling them new trains. They're not. They're definitely refurbished trains.
New old trains.
New old trains. So yeah, this is what we look. I mean, my first, I think a lot of people had this kind of reaction, was like, it looks very Nemesis Inferno. But we have to bear in mind that we can't see the top of, we can't see like the wheel guards and everything. So but
I think that's where the magic will be. Like, what we can't see.
Yeah,
it's not just going to be plain black, is it? When you look at the what they've gone, I can't even talk. What they've done with the track, like that's not plain and boring. So the trains ain't going to be plain and boring.
That's the first thing I thought as soon as I saw this picture and the other one that's like a straight on of the front row. I was like, they've intentionally left out the wheel guards and even the like little bits at the top of the chassis of each car that you could actually theme up a little bit. Like that's very intentional what they've done there. So there's a lot to be revealed.
It could be they're still waiting on the wheel guards to even be installed because they
that too.
See, I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Be ready.
I'm looking forward to seeing it in real life because obviously to me, there's quite a flash on that camera there. Like I was scrolling through and I instantly thought, that just looks like Oblivion. Like they look more orange than red. So I'm really hoping when you see them actually with your own eyes, that sort of dark blood red looks pretty decent against that black track with obviously the veins sort of thing. But yeah, they can't, I mean, they managed to put Hot Wheels sort of fire on Inferno. So
I love that.
surely, they can surely, they've got.
I didn't know what you're on about. Then it was Hot Wheels fire. What? Do you
know? Do you remember those little cars and the little bits of fire you had to stick on?
Yeah, I do know.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what it looks like. So I'm hoping, because it's one of those. Although this coaster was made in '94, it's B&M Imbert and whatnot. If that photo in the bottom right hand corner had 1994 on it, you wouldn't think any different. Like you can tell it's that sort of thing. Whereas, especially when nowadays we're getting trains like the Hulk's new B&M trains were sexy. The lots of trains are just looking awesome, and this is very much it's just the same but been painted. So I'm really hoping the wheel guards like Emma is where the magic will happen.
I also don't know because it's going to be. I think if they go to town too much, they could do a little bit too much of the trains, considering how jazzed up the track is.
Yeah,
like could you go a bit too much?
You risk it looking tacky, don't you, when you do too much to something like with anything. If you go over the top, there's a fine line between what looks like really cool and edgy, and then it just looks fucking shit. Like.
Because I saw someone posting up about putting Dawn and Dragons trains, for example. Like they look a bit mental to me. I mean, obviously it is pretty cool, but like, do we want to go to that extent on this? Probably not. But just something quite stylish. I think that's all they need to do on it.
Maybe even just the front carriage, just a little bit of arty farty on the front carriage, and you can forgive the rest for being quite plain because, like you say, the track's so zazzy.
Yeah, I mean we've got to remember
Pizzazz.
That's not a word.
It is now. It is now.
Come on here and start making up your own words.
Mate, I make up as much as I want. You've invited me on now on Bucky.
Give it a little pizzazz.
No turning back now. Arty farty is a great phrase.
Arty farty
as well.
Parks and Pints said, good evening, sorry I'm late. I was binging last year's diss tracks.
Was it just your own one on repeat?
Just remember they had two, so technically
twice the time. That's why you've not been in the chat for however many episodes. You just had all the diss tracks on loop all of these weeks.
Wednesday night is diss track night. Sorry. I'd say in that they go full Dawn and Dragon style insanity with the wheel covers. That's funny. I didn't even see that. I hope they don't, because the only reason I'm saying I hope they don't is because like there needs to be some kind of story here. Like we don't know. Like why are we riding the? Well, we clearly know they're meant to be. It used to at some point they were either to hold the Nemesis beast down, but now it's kind of evolution into, because it's got veins, these are now part of the beast itself. So it's like, what does that make the carriage then? So if we have like a mini Nemesis on it, why would a mini Nemesis be going around itself? So I don't know. We can't go too crazy, surely.
I feel like they've tried to sort of retcon the whole idea of it being pinned down, and just because only the super nerds like us know that. Do you know what I mean? So now it is just an extension of the Nemesis creature, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we know there's going to be, the story is probably most likely going to be more expanded the closer we got, because look how much story we've got already, and it's not even open till next year. So it's like, I think the closer we get to it, I do think there's going to be a more emphasis, because no one really knew, unless you were a geek, no one knew the backstory of Nemesis. No one did. Like if you just rode it, you were like, what the hell? It's just an alien. You didn't even know they were being held down. So I think there's got to be a reason why there's veins all over the track. That's my thinking, and I think it's got to be explained.
Speaking about us, how much, and be honest with it, how much is whatever storyline they come up with going to affect our enjoyment of the new Nemesis? Because I mean, how much did it affect our enjoyment of the ride before?
Well,
I can tell you for myself, not much at all.
It's mainly theming, isn't it? If it was like an indoor dark ride, I think the story would have more impact on you. But the fact that it is a coaster, it's a bit like you'll go on a Batman coaster and you don't go, well, for a minute there, I truly believed I was Batman. Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Like, so at no point did I ride Nemesis wondering what it would be like to hold down an alien.
No.
But you know what I mean?
But to counter that point though, is that you're not conscious to it, but like the story affected.
No, I'm not saying I'm not conscious to it. I'm saying it didn't really play that big of a part in my enjoyment of the roller coaster.
Well, I think it would though, like subconsciously, because not thinking I'm going to hold down the coaster, but the fact that the story defined the whole theming, the whole thematics, the whole like story of Nemesis, like the visuals of it, the station wouldn't be the way. It's a bit like when we talked about Taron and stuff and Fly. It's like we didn't know the story. I'm not thinking of the story of Taron when I'm going around it. But
yeah, me neither.
The factor of the story made it into the coaster experience it is, whether you know the story or not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the same thing as Nemesis, right?
To some degree.
I do think it's important because there's going to be a reason why there's veins on the track. It's got to be, right? Why they just stick veins on it? And that's gonna.
I feel like it has to be explained a little. Like it has to be explained and fleshed out a little more for this iteration of it, because if not, then what was the point of retheming it at all?
Yeah, pre-show.
Yeah,
ooh.
But then
potentially.
But then at the same time, this is why I said for us specifically, are we gonna like how much stock are we gonna put into that versus just being versus number one, just being happy Nemesis is back, and two, riding it the same way we used to.
I think that will call that. Well, riding it the same way it's used to is going to depend on how it rides when it opens, and it's obviously not going to be as ferocious when it first opens because it's new. B&M's age, like fine wine, they get. Like, I mean, you ride Shambhala now.
Most of them.
It's some don't age well. But no, it will all come down to that, because what you got to remember is when we do ride it, I don't think it's going to ride the same. Like it's just not. Like it's not gonna ride the same as the last time I did it, which was in the middle of winter when it had been running all day, and it was a night ride on it. And we know what them night rides on Nemesis are like. They are just the most insane, most intense thing. And this is just going to be probably too smooth to begin with. It'd be interesting. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So, but I think the story will be so important for this iteration of it, because like you say, like it needs to be a reason why they've gone to town on the retheme. Of course, it's going to look nice, but they could have just like redone the station and then just kept the track the same. But because they've chose a black track, they've done these veins on it.
They're repainting the station,
repainting it, the whole thing. So
there's got to interrupt.
Yeah,
because as just being irrelevant, when you stood up there, Mikey, are you wearing pajama bottoms?
Yes, I am.
Are you business on the top, party on the bottom? Can I see what
party in the back?
It's the Star War, as Hannah would call it.
See, I was saying before how you look like you were ready to sell or something. You're actually just wearing your pajamas.
It's how I roll on
He's doing the Zoom meeting tactic.
It's not lockdown anymore, Michael. We have to get dressed.
It's COVID all over again.
So away from pajama buttons, please. Right. So what Gecko Gamer said, what B&M has gotten worse since it opened? Well, obvious one is dragging on. Rides like a bag of fucking owls. In my opinion.
I thought you said owls. Nails.
It sounded like you said owls.
A bag of nails.
Mate, halfway to owls.
You did do like a weird before
you
said
that, was it? He definitely said a bag of owls.
Can we get back on track, guys?
It's Black Country. I understood.
Let's keep going.
Bag of owls.
Just down now.
Colossus at Heidi Park. What's that point? No, there wasn't a screen. There's never been. Actually, in Nemesis Q, when it first opened, there used to be the storyline going through the speakers, didn't they? Tom Baker used to. Tom Baker from Doctor Who used to do it, but they've never been like
in the cafe. There was the comic strip that they made on posters throughout the cafe.
Yes, they did.
Read the entire story.
They sold a comic,
and they did sell the comics as well. Yeah, when it first opened.
Yeah. So there is that, but like, I think it was Mike who just said like they do like their pre-shows now. You know, if you think about Wicker Man, obviously got in like an insane pre-show. Curse has now got a kind of a rolling pre-show that explains it. I'm trying to think of other new. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Jumanji doesn't have one, but it doesn't need one because it's like kind of everyone mostly knows what Jumanji's about.
In Smiler's queue line before you go up the stairs to the station, was there supposed to be some kind of pre-show element in there?
The rumor was like in
the building.
Yeah, like. Because why else does that build like that?
Yeah, why does that room exist?
It doesn't have any purpose. There must have been,
especially considering half the projectors are turned off now.
It's now just the room, it's now just the room to see like how many projectors are off or misaligned.
I swear I've seen the blue screen of death in there one time.
Oh yeah, that's a very common occurrence.
You gotta even think though, even Oblivion, 1998, they all had and still does have all the TV screens. Again, that's sort of like a very simple TV pre-show letting you know what this thing is. So something, just move the TVs from Subterra, move them over, pop them in.
Yeah.
A guy I know does cool videography. Do you know what I mean?
I know who that is.
Don't live too far away either.
He sometimes gets confused between nails and owls, but
no, I'm pretty sure you guys got confused by that just because you've got shit ears.
I mean, if it was just me, maybe, but no, we all heard it.
I refuse to believe it.
Rewind it back.
No.
You are though. I bet you do when it's finished. I bet you go back and listen.
Right,
you know you will.
I mean,
just wakes up in cold sweats in the middle of the night. I was like, did I actually say owls?
It's the same with his eyes and go, I said owls.
I mean, most people mishear a word and then just go, oh no, obviously he meant that in the context of that.
Yeah,
that's what most people do.
We're not most people, are we?
You've got 3 minutes of content out of
it. You learned nothing, Sean, that every time you slightly mispronounce a word, I'm going to pull you up on it. Every time.
Wow. That just goes to show how good I am at talking, then. It doesn't happen often. What?
What?
What did you say? Did you say bag of nails?
No.
Bag of owls?
Also, I still don't believe Dragon Khan's got that bad. Because if it had, I would have remembered it from the last time I wrote it.
Like, don't get me wrong, most people,
admittedly, but still.
Joe seems to like it. I don't like it. I don't know. I just don't think it feels that good.
I know a few people that got on it recently and still really enjoy it.
Because they're just enjoy pain, maybe.
Because they're masochists.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not even a good type of pain, though. It's just like the annoying type of pain. That's the problem with it.
I'm actually really annoyed that I can barely remember the ride anymore because I spent so many years as a kid wishing I could get on it and then loving it when I eventually did ride it, and now I can't remember my last ride on it. Sounds annoying. I need to get back to Port.
When I last rode it, I ain't got a clue.
It was that rough. Your head banged so much it's gone from your brain.
Yeah,
I suffered amnesia. Dear me.
So, next up we have just a quick thing on this. I don't want to spend too much on it because only McCall really knows about anything about this. I need to get on to spooky stuff.
I mean, even that's a stretch. But...
so just quickly. So this is a quick. We're not gonna spend 20 minutes on this, please. Right. So, Vina Prata. yesterday, was it yesterday they announced this? I think it was, wasn't it? Or David, whatever.
No, they announced they officially announced it at IAPA Europe in Vienna today.
No, I'm sure it was yesterday.
No, the Vina Prata thing.
The Vina Prata. Yeah, that's what it's on about. Oh, was it? Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yeah.
This week.
I saw it. I saw it yesterday.
Was it Monday or was it a Tuesday? No,
just like they're revealed trains.
Who cares?
Do we learn that we don't
let me just give the context of this so everyone knows what the fuck we're talking about, right? So Vina Prata, they were meant to be having a Mack Big Dipper coaster. They announced yesterday that this was not going to be happening now, despite there being like rumors that there was like the track was done and stuff, and it was, someone even said they saw it on site, I don't know, but anyway, it's not happening. So then the rumor mill was swirling around, and they said Fantasiana, so not Phantasialand, Fantasiana, would be getting this new coaster instead. But today, which is what McCall was thinking about, it was officially announced that their PAX model, World Train, which is called World Train, is closing, and in its place,
which apparently has a wild moment of airtime in it.
Yeah, from the POV,
name would be alive if it didn't.
Yeah, you'd think it would be wild. But yeah, so basically, but that in the video they showed, it was blatantly a custom layout, so it wasn't this same model. So God knows what's happened to the one that was at Vienna Prata, but it's definitely not going to this one. So that's about as much as we know, really. And the reason we're mentioning it is because there's not really much else news.
Yeah, and it got announced at IAPA today.
Yeah.
But no, what I found interesting about the whole situation with Vienna Prata is that I wasn't aware of this until I read it. But apparently they had been in some kind of legal battle because they hadn't gotten permission to actually start demolition on the site yet.
Oh, with that
they did something like I don't know if they completely destroyed like a building that was previously on that site or if they modified it in some way, but they did that without permission to do that. So they basically started demolition on that site before they were even allowed to.
So basically like a wonky pub situation, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Don't get me going.
But and then there's something about this Zamperla coaster that was coming to PNE Playland. That coaster track has been spotted.
Oh yeah,
this actually looks pretty sick, to be honest. Like
it's quite well underway with its construction.
Yeah.
So so it's at PNE Playland in Vancouver. As you all know, I live in Vancouver now. I went up to the park last month. I saw no kind of construction whatsoever.
Yeah.
And now apparently like fucking almost like over half of the layout's been constructed. The top hats in, the the LSM track segments are there. I was like, where did all this just appear from out of nowhere?
Yeah, it's just like
airdrop.
Admittedly, yeah, it is a small coaster, but Jesus, I thought I would have heard something about them starting construction, or I would have just seen it somewhere. But yeah.
Oh mate, when you posted this photo in the chat, I thought it was Rage. I didn't even know that was that what you were talking about.
It does look a lot like Rage.
Everyone, someone commented on Reddit saying the color scheme is outrageous, which I enjoed a lot.
Like genuinely, when you put that, I didn't even read it. I just assumed you'd posted a photo of Rage. That's what I get for not paying attention.
Yeah, don't you know I love Rage at Adventure Island so much?
Who wasn't, Mikhail?
I've never
Rage with its famous LSMs on it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's good to see. That's good to see that obviously well underway now, because that is where Zamperla are gonna, like, the other coaster alongside Top Thrill 2 that's gonna be debuting Zamperla's new Lightning trains next year. And so to have I mean PNE Playland is there's barely anything there. But like the expansion that they seem to have on the cards is really interesting. So to have that in my back garden is going to be
Jesus, your back
quite amusing.
Huge, man.
Yeah, right. The whole city's my back garden.
Cool. So that's the news. I'm sure there's other news. There'll probably be more IAPA stuff to go through next week. I haven't really seen anything big, but anything huge.
Yeah,
it's the Europe one.
I know a few people who are there. Obviously, like Tuesday was heavy sales day, so there wasn't that much in the way of new stuff going on. You know, like the actual reason that the IAPA Expo happens took center stage on Tuesday. So what's gone through today, I guess we'll see.
So Halloween, are we all excited? I know. Well, I don't know.
All right, I am because I actually have a reason to be now.
Oh, because your plan's still going ahead.
Yeah, because I'm going to be going to Halloween Horror Nights for the first time.
Nice.
In just over a month's time. So
good. It's starting to feel like
can't wait for that.
It's starting to feel Halloween now. Like it's just like that weird seasonal change that's like kicking in, especially here. I'm like it's kind of waking up and it's a little bit darker than usual, and like I don't know. Autumn is my favorite time of the year. I think I love summer
when it's not dead cold. But it's like
you got the low hanging sun. It's like if the sun's out, it's still pretty warm, but you got like a bit of a chill. I love it. Yeah. So
it is blowing a gale though. I'll not lie. It's bloody windy.
Agnes?
Agnes.
Agnes. It's been windy over here as well.
Man. We've got. I mean, I know that the three of us are going to a few like preview media nights, aren't we? Me, Emmy, Emma, Mikey. So the first one we got coming up is actually this week. Is Scare City.
Tomorrow.
That is tomorrow. Bloody hell.
I'm not going, but it's tomorrow.
You're not going? I thought you were going.
No, I got other shit to do, man. Kids, how dare they?
So Scare City is held at the old Camelot theme park. We went last year, and it was pretty decent. It was like it was just the best way to describe it was like a really long walk outside, and then you went through
just a really long walk. That's it.
It was on the right. It was on the right tracks, but it was like kind of walking for a long time, see some actors like in an area, and then you walk a little bit more. So like if you're with a group, if you're with a group of people, it's fine because you're talking and stuff. But I think if you were like, say if you're doing that by yourself, do you know what I mean? Like you'd just be walking. It'd get a bit long, right? But if you go with a group of you, it's a good laugh. But I'm interested to see what they've done because apparently they've changed some things up, right?
I would have liked to have gone. I would have liked to have gone. Like Mikey just said, they have like last year they had in the actual castle bit they did create like a little maze in there, whereas the first year they didn't do that. So that was exciting last year, and it worked all right for what it was.
It was good.
But this year they've now got 4. Mikey just said I'm going to copy it. 4.
Oh, that's not happened for the last 3 years. Weird.
4 like maze areas as well as like the walkthrough bit. And I hope that they've got like halfway through, because the show said it was a really long walk. They had like a mid bit where they had a bar and they had food and they had a bit of music and stuff like that. That was cool. It did break it up. But like, I'm interested to see Carl's going with Jack and Vic on behalf of TTT. So there will be a vlog, and I'm excited to live it through that because I can't go. But it's one of those events that like it's not been going very long, but it has got like a bit better each time.
Yeah,
it's not got shitter, which is amazing.
Considering how new it is, I think they've done a cracking job, especially with the location they've got as well. Like you say, it's an unused theme park, disused theme park, which is pretty awesome in itself. And with the space they had and what they've had over the last few years, I really like the lighting they did. So each section had its own different type of color lighting. With there was still. Considering it's outside, it's so much harder to theme because in a maze you can hide stuff a lot easier. Outside, you can't basically. So they did a cracking job there. But I am intrigued. I think Emma just mentioned it that they got 4 mazes this year.
I knew that all on my own.
Oh, sweet.
I had another fact that I came up with all on my own, but I'll tell you all about that later.
Well, I'm excited. I'm intrigued that they're still going the linear route, as in like it's not like a typical screen park where you queue up for each individual maze. It's still one long linear walkthrough, but with mazes. So, and another park is doing that this year that normally wouldn't, which we can talk about in a little bit too. But I really enjoyed it. I can't make it tomorrow for press night, unfortunately. But Scare City have been kind enough to have me back another night, so I'm going Friday. I'm looking forward to checking it out again.
Yes. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's when it's really easy to go to some of these scare events and try and compare like newer events with pre-existing ones, and I think most people like you can give some events like the benefit of the doubt when it's like their first few years, and you can just tell they're getting better each year. So it's just like I'm really excited to see what they do with this, because it just seems like every time they get feedback they're like changing it up and being like, okay, well, that didn't work. Because one of my things from last year was like, it's such a spread out route. Was like, if you have like actors dropping out throughout the run, it's like, what happens then? Like, how do they easily get about from one end to the other? But I'll tell you, my favorite bit from last year has got to be, when you go through that tunnel, that I think it was when Nightmare went across, used to go across.
Oh yeah, the tunnel towards the end.
God, that was crazy with the strobe, and then like that nun-like figure just ran towards us. That was like one of my favorite bits.
You have to think though, when you're talking about like changing it up and stuff. Like, I went to the first year, and that was a drive-through maze.
Yeah,
you drove through, and it was a cinema. So they think they went. Obviously, that was just after COVID. So people were still taking precautions and stuff, and that worked well for what it was. Like, even if you took away the cinema experience, driving your car through the theme park was still really good.
Yeah.
And then for them to go last year and go, right, okay, we can kind of do what we want now. There's no COVID restrictions. And think, okay, we've got this plan and this pathway, but let's be honest, it's fucking long.
It is long.
So
it could be slightly shorter.
They did. It's probably too long.
And I think that the problem they had was because they had that the food and like the food and drink place, that hub. It kind of created a bottleneck for the whole event, because loads of people just chilled there for ages until they had to start telling people like, can you please move on, because the actors have got nothing to do. So I wonder what they're going to do with that, if that's going to be still the case.
That was nice though to do that.
I liked it
to kind of break it up. And like I was saying, like the change from the drive-through to the walk-through was massive. So then for this year again, they could have just kept what they did last year. It worked fine.
Yeah, they still got it.
They're putting 4 new mazes in, apparently.
Are they?
So apparently, yeah. So big changes each time. They're not just like stagnated, which is the main thing. They're trying something new each time.
Cool. All right. So next up, one that I know that I think most of us are going to, but again, I might be wrong, because I thought more people were going to that one. Was Doncaster Fear Factory?
Oh no, I'll go to that one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I've never been to this one before. You two have. I thought you had.
I've never been.
No.
Maggie's not either.
No, never been.
So
I am looking forward to it though. I've heard really good stuff.
Wait, how long have they been running?
Not that long. I think they started, I want to say just a year before COVID, maybe.
Right.
Maybe 2018, but I think it was 2019. I know they started off with 3 mazes, actually created by UVE. So we know their work is quality. They haven't worked with them on their last maze, I don't think, or the last couple. So they've done a lot more stuff in house. But I've heard that quality scares, intense. I've known the guys that have run it since before Doncaster Fear Factory was a thing. They were doing lots of other stuff with different companies. So what
does UVE stand for anyone who doesn't know, including me?
So Unlocked Vision Entertainment, and they've created so most of the original mazes at Fear at Avon Valley. They've done so much stuff at Thorpe Park. They made trailers, survival games. They shout at me for bigging them up, but they sort of go under the radar a lot. You know, they do a good job, and on their way to the next job. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, their past track record is phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to checking out what Doncaster has in store.
Yes, I'm excited. I think it's probably one of the ones that of new stuff that I'm doing this year. I think that's the one I'm most excited about.
Yeah. Same actually.
So Spooky World is something I've never done. Spooky World, and I keep getting like. Thing is, the funniest thing about Spooky World is everyone I speak to always goes, "Don't expect like the best thing in the world, but it's just different." So that's what I'm looking forward to. It's just because it's a bit like it's done on a bit of a budget, isn't it? But it's like what they lack in theming. It sounds like they really go to town on the scares.
They do. They've got one of the best acting teams, definitely in the UK. And yeah, you're exactly right. Imagine if you're going to a Scream Park that was made in the early 90s in a random highway in America, like old school haunt style of attraction, and they they don't have the biggest budgets to put into it, but it's the actors that make it. Like I say, like they don't have so much street performance or shows. It's a dry site as well. You can't get a drink, unfortunately. I know, right? But it's what they do have is your quality. They have a haunted house style attraction. They used to have a corn maze, which is actually leaving for this year. It's actually gone for the first time in like 10 years. They have the clown maze. They have the slaughterhouse. Do you know what I mean? They are your old school style attractions, but they're just solid. And the actors really, because they don't have loads to play with, they really go to town to make sure that us guys have a great time. What is great over the last couple of years, though, as well, they had the I can't remember what it's called now. Oh gosh, the Institute last year, which was a brand new attraction, which was so simple. It was one of those old school chain link style fence mazes, but it bloody worked. Like you could see.
Do you know what? It was vile.
It's scary, wasn't it? It was horrible.
It was vile.
Yeah.
And it was
worked
so
well.
But it was vile.
It's horrible. And they're one of the very, very few remaining places in the UK that actually have a haunted hayride. Which, by the way, wear a poncho, they get you soaked. Stupid. Every year, like it's like, why are you making people wet? It's bloody cold. But if you ignore that bit, it's actually quite a quality little haunted hayride. Like it's not on Tully's level, but I like it. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun. And there's
put the fucking pressure washer away. It'd be great.
Yeah, exactly. And there's not many of them about now, so it's nice that a park has got one. And yeah, the twins, the evil twins, the two clowns, they really put their heart and soul into that place. So yeah, we're in for another good year. I think you'll enjoy it. Like I say, go in with low expectations on theming and smells and lights and tech. But just go in thinking I'm going to have a fun time, and you'll have. It
would surprise me, like if you come out of it, Sean, at the end of spooky season, you turn around and say that those mazes were probably some of the most intense that you did all season.
I hope so.
For me, they are because they really, they're in your face, man. That
you're gonna get me. Really I'm gonna be like fucking shitting it when I go in. I am. I'm such a wimp.
They're good. They're just very good.
Cool. Right, so we've got that. A big change this year. I will let Mikey go on and tell us about some other ones in a minute. I was just going to go on my list that I wanted to talk about.
The ones you're mentioning are the ones I'm going to. So it's
a win for me. So Dr. Frights is one that's really threw a curveball this year, because I've always said on this podcast it's one of my favorites every year, just because
scary as shit.
It's just they're just so. in terms of scares, they are like really creative. They're some of the most creative scares I've had in mazes before. In terms of like once you do quite a few mazes, especially once you start going with in scare season and stuff, everything gets a little bit predictable,
a bit samey.
But I always do Dr. Fright's like sort of. I think it's like normally like in the middle or not towards the end. The first year was towards the end, and honestly, I head-butted a fence because I got scared so much. It was the one thing that comes to mind was the Exorcist jump scare we had last year, where
mate, why did she do that?
You're looking at
I don't want to spoil it in case it's still there, but
it's not going to be, is it? I don't think.
Implement a similar thing.
That's a good thing is that they change it up every single year. They literally build it within a month, and then run it a month, and then knock it down within a week.
Yeah, because it's
intense.
In case you don't know what it is, like Dr. Fright's it's literally just like marquees in a field. It's not like a lot of these places that are in like old farmhouses or like country parks or things like that. It's like in the middle of a field in a marquee, and then multiple marquees that go off a central one. So yeah, it's like they have to build something new. They don't have the luxury of going, let's just keep that the same for next year, or let's just change it up slightly. They have to put it up and put it down. So they may as well be like, oh, let's do something different. But this year they're doing it as one long scare maze, aren't they?
I've spoke to them a little bit about this. And they're mega excited for it. Obviously, they've really thought about how it's going to work because their formula has just worked so well over the last. They started going indoors in 2014. So the previous years before that, it was all outdoors, just with the marquee sort of set up here and there. But since it all went indoors, that like you just said, Sean, with the marquees all coming off each other, that atmosphere and that vibe while listening to Rob Zombie blaring out and being able to get a burger and some candy floss and a beer at the bar at the end, it's like you're on the set of half between a festival and a B-movie horror. Do you know what I mean? Like it's got such a different vibe to everywhere else. So the fact that they are making it into one long thing, like we said, I mean, speaking about Scare City, there are multiple places that do that. You know, Scare Kingdom do, Scaregrounds, things like that. I'm slightly anxious about it because of how good their formula has been in the past.
Yeah,
the fact they're doing something totally different.
That if it's going to be it's going to be a long. One of the ones that springs to mind for me is like in terms of like an attraction that lasts a while, like Horror at Hitchinbrook House. That's continuous. It's 45 minutes, right? And I got bored. Scares weren't as impactful because I was like, do you know what? Like, I enjoy the break in between and switching it up a little bit. So I worry now because Dr. Fright's for me last year, I found the one with all the horror characters in and the bloody mannequin maze scared the shit out of me. Absolutely frightened me to death. That mannequin maze, I nearly cried. It was horrible. And now I wonder, the creativity and the impact of the scares that they had in like obviously the shorter mazes, is that going to be lost? And are people is it going to? I don't know. It worries me because I mean, I have a short attention span. Like, if the maze is going to be longer than 10 minutes, I'm just like...
Well, that's the issue as well, though, isn't it? You got to think logistically wise. So, Dr. Fright's is a great night out, as in, because you do spend time reminiscing about the mazes in between them. Then you get in a queue for the next one. Then you talk about it a little bit. You might go and have a vape. You might check out the merch stand. So you can make a whole night out of it. But the mazes themselves, you know, approximately 5 minutes a maze. Which isn't like necessarily short for an attraction. Like, you know, because I go in with my microphone and I record it all, like, you can sort of figure out an average for that season, that sort of thing. So 5 minutes, it might doesn't sound like a lot, but actually it's a decent time for a scare maze. But it only is because you've got the build up before it, the chatting about it afterwards, and that's how you can do 4 mazes but still be there 3 hours later. Whereas if they only have the same footprint, will this one long attraction actually only end up being less than half an hour? I hope not. I think I'm hoping it's wrong. I'm hoping it won't. But do you know what I mean? Like it will be the same amount of scares per meter, if that makes sense, compared to previous.
Yeah.
If I want to do some sort of pie chart on it, but
I love that scares per meter.
scares per meter. So yeah, how are they going to make it? Like everyone says, they don't want to make it too long because you do get not bored, but you just get desensitized.
Yeah,
desensitized. So I'm hoping. I think they have got a break halfway through, sort of thing. So, and again, they're doing a similar sort of thing that scares.
Well, like a breakout session halfway through. Okay, guys, go grab a beanbag, some juice on the side. Let's have a breather, and then we'll get back to it.
See, for some people, that would be the horror maiden.
So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm looking forward to it. Like, it's not just those. Like, it's not like they're doing maze, then maze, then maze, then maze. There is a longer sort of bit with different sections towards each attraction, if that makes sense. So I'll still think it's going to be a bit starty-stoppy, but then do you get the same issue that Scare Kingdom can get quite regularly, where it's quite nice to go from maze to maze, but then are you queuing ages halfway through? Then you lose it. It basically, from an operational standpoint, they've made it way harder for themselves. But Dr. Frights, they know what they're doing. They've been doing it a long time. I've got faith. I reckon it should be good.
Yeah, it's just going to be interesting because, like, if you think about it, Warsaw Scare Maze is one big long scare maze. I mean, you can be in Warsaw Scare Maze sometimes for like up to nearly, I think, 25 minutes, half an hour.
Yeah, definitely. Best maze ever, in my opinion. In the UK, I think Warsaw Scare Maze is one of the best mazes in the UK.
Yeah, I've said that for ages. I mean, since I've been going, I've just, it's just they're so different to anything else. It's just I love it. But I think a big part of that is because it is so homegrown as well. That it's like all the actors in there are so like passionate about it. They were doing it in like December last year, and it was like absolutely freezing in there. Like, and that's like when we did it, it is like a cold maze, but they just it's so, the people there who work there are so passionate, and the team there are just incredible.
They've been doing it for a really long time as well.
Yeah,
like people creating it did loads of attractions in Birmingham and Stafford before they even moved there. So the main guy, he knows his stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can't wait. So what else am I missing? So Fear at Avon Valley, I'm going to that. We're going to that. I
love it.
I went there for the first time last year, and I was really, really impressed. I really, really enjoyed it.
Fear is home to my number one scare maze.
Vita Nova.
Vita Nova is my number one maze I've ever done. Like, I did it for the first time 2 years ago, and even last year when I went back, I was like, it was still phenomenal. It just, obviously, I'm not going to spoil it, but for me, Fear at Avon Valley offers something completely different to what everybody else does. They think outside the box with their mazes. They are not just going to be like, you get your bog standard themes for mazes and stuff. Whereas they might take a normal theme, but they're going to add their twist on it. And
do you not think most places do that though? I don't understand.
Yeah, but for me, Fear at Avon Valley, who the hell thinks of like, you're going to do a maze in the sewer with some monsters. So we're going to fill the maze up with water, and you're going to wear waders. Who thinks of that shit?
See that is where I will agree on that point.
It has been done once before. I have to say that, but no worry, it has been. It was done in Europe, but they were the first people to do it in the UK, and they did a really bloody.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Really incredible. Really good.
Mate, the amount of times they fell over in that maze.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, for those who didn't know, like what they did with what the hell was it called again? What was the maze called?
It was called. Why have I got a part?
Michael,
you're fired,
mate. I should know. I've got the picture of it on my fridge.
The core. Yeah. So the core was you had to put waders on, which. Great idea, but also very fucking muddy. Don't go in nice clothes because like all the waders were muddy as hell, and they do get on your clothes. So bear that in mind. It's like being in a PE changing room. It's great, but then you go basically down into the sewers, but it is actually up to your like it's past your knees, basically, isn't it? If I remember rightly.
Yeah.
You're wading through water in it. It's absolutely mental that they managed to pull that off. The one thing I want to say is that they need to not scare on them stairs, because if there's one place not to scare on the stairs, it's when you're just walking down waters and you're coming up. And I was just like, this actor like jumped out at me on the stairs, and I went, "No scares on the stairs!" Like,
we did exactly the same thing
on the stairs,
Michael. We literally shouted the same thing.
Yeah, I was like, that's not good. Like, it's so slippy. I mean, but it was so impressive.
The thing with them is their mazes are they're all really intense, like all of them. Like you go, oh, let's go into their clown one. Their clown one should be, a little bit more chill. Friggin' ain't. Not at all. Like,
fell over last year.
I fell over last year. Yes, dropped to the floor. Just so intense, and Vita Nova, so like Emma said, so different.
God, I love it. It's so different.
The mad thing about that, which is a real kudos to Fear at Avon Valley as well, a little bit of trivia, is that is actually a second-hand maze from another Scream Park.
Which one is that? Sorry, which one?
Yeah, so Vita Nova is actually they actually bought that. It was the Difference engine at Howl-O-Scream in York.
What?
Yeah, but it's completely unrecognizable, isn't it? Like, it's
well, I mean, I wouldn't know because I didn't do it before, but I think
did you do it? Sure.
No, I never did that one.
No,
I think that was a year before.
Trailers, right? It's like lorry trailers.
Yeah. Well, yeah, basically, yeah.
That, like, when you come out of it, you look at it and you go, it's essentially a load of like lorry trailers. You would never know.
Yeah.
Have you been to? You haven't been to Howl-O-Scream, have you, Emma?
No.
I think if you like Fear, I think you'd really like Howl-O-Scream.
Yeah.
I think that's
definitely one that I want to do.
I don't hear people say it's good, but I don't hear it as being talked about as much as like Fear, for example. And I do think what they do is like it's so good. Admittedly, like some of their mazes have been there for quite a while now, and they don't change it up as much as I wish they did. But obviously we had COVID and everything, so it's like, there's a lot of these places like playing catch up a little bit. But it's just I love their mazes. And to be fair, like, now you've said that it comes from Howl-O-Scream, I can kind of see that, like, in a way.
Well, they're all part of Scream Park Entertainment, so they're all individually owned and run, but they do get like teams supports on Scream Park, and their home park is Tully's. They also have the Howl-O-Scream. They had Frightmare for a little bit, and you can see similarities purely because they are, they're the biggest company in the UK that sort of run their acting teams, training, that sort of thing. So for the best sort of scares, that's why the farm parks, in my opinion, are definitely beating the theme parks. I don't know if that's a debate we want to get on because I'll go down a rabbit hole, but but that's why they're a better night out. They're just trained better, and it's just a overall package works well. And those sort of 4 or 5 Scream Parks, you can see the similarities because it's just a working formula.
Okay, you mentioned Tully's there, right, Mikey? What is your opinion on Tully's? Like, not their individual mazes, but the setup that they have at Tully's. And
I was going to ask about Tully's.
For a night out, what is your opinion? Because I've got my opinions on it, but what are your opinions about Tully's, like, as a whole?
If someone, one of my friends from America, came over and wanted to go to a wicked, epic, like, sort of night out of a Scream Park, Tully's definitely be up there on the list, purely because I think
it didn't have the chance because you're just trying to do all the 10 mazes that you need to get.
This is me.
Well, there's too many mazes.
Because I find it too stressful.
I think
there is no way in a million years that you can breeze through your night at Tully's with no fast passes and get everything done. Which I know, general public wise, sometimes they don't want to do everything. But from an enthusiast point of view, if you want to do all their mazes, you cannot relax at Tully's. You cannot sit and enjoy yourself at Tully's. There's too much to do.
Me and Joe had fast passes, and we were just like running around like headless chickens all night trying to get things done.
I've done it with and without, and even with fast passes, I was still fucking stressed.
I mean, obviously, I think I've got to say, I think we went on a Friday night, so it's always going to be busy on a Friday night. that probably plays. But we had fast pass, so we were like skipping through the lines, and it was still like just too. I know that sounds so stupid, being like complaining there's too much to do for like the money you're paying or whatever.
Well, the reason they
one away for me anyway.
But what I think is like in terms, I would say that I equate, and obviously this is like a really good point for Tully, is like what I'm about to say. Like this is a praise in a way. Like I do think they're like Halloween Horror Nights, where they've become a little bit of a victim of their own success.
That's exactly what
I was literally about to ask that very question.
They got too popular, so they have to have that many mazes. Otherwise, everywhere it just wouldn't be. You couldn't run it.
Work. Yeah.
They also want to push it as a multi-night event. So, which
extortionate.
One, it's expensive, and also it's difficult because it's kind of. I mean, I only just travel down there by car, but it's kind of in the middle of nowhere to a point. Not in the middle of nowhere,
it takes forever.
It takes a long time for us. But it's sort of like it's not like it's in a massively built. I don't know how big Crawley is, but obviously it's in a little pocket of Crawley amongst some woods and whatnot. It's not like it's next to multiple theme parks where you can sleep over and then go in the night after. So that formula doesn't work. But like you said, Sean, because they are so popular, and I think they are a machine. They are like a theme park the way they run with their like so many shows, so much fire. Like there's it's an absolute beast of an event.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Like I say, if anyone was going to come over and I wanted to sort of boast about the UK scare scene, Tully's would be up there. However, because it is so stressful, because you can't get it all done in one night, and like Sean, it's weird to complain that we're complaining that there's too much.
Yeah.
But that's why somewhere like Fear would potentially be my next place to take that person, because it's just as intense and a beast of a machine, but you can chill that little bit more and enjoy your night.
To me, Fear felt like a more compact and more chill version of Tully's in a way. But I just think even Fear, like the mazes are just so much more like creative. They're just I think me going in there, I didn't have any idea of how this event was run, but the way I was like looking at the actors, I was like, they must just like swap actors out from different mazes because they all looked like very similar. So it was like, it was great to have that many mazes, but I just feel like that means the budget gets spread across all these mazes.
And two or three mazes seem the same.
Same.
Yeah. Mazes
are secondary.
Shit. Don't get me wrong, they've got some phenomenal mazes. Like a couple of them there really stand out, but some of them, they're there for the sake of being there to take some of the crowd.
So I didn't go last year, so I wanted to do that. What was the new one last year? The one
was it like Doomtown?
Doomtown. That looked really cool.
It looks really incredible. Cool. It really like that. It's what they make and create is probably world quality stuff. It really is.
I need to give it like another chance because I didn't not enjoy it. I just was like, it was just so different to what I thought because I'd only really been to other farm type scare events, and I just went there and I was like, this is just like insane.
You need 2 or 3 nights there to be able to relax and enjoy it. And Maze is a secondary to Tully's. So whereas everywhere else isn't, you know.
Yeah. So McCall, what was you going to ask? What Kira's said? Go.
Well, exactly what Kira said, but and also I was gonna touch on just the subject of Tully's and how you compared it to Halloween Horror Nights was exactly how I was gonna pose one of those two questions. And just thinking about from what I'm not experienced with like scream parks and like the farm scream parks in the UK and stuff, but from what I've seen of Tully's, especially when Wastelands debuted, is that it seems a lot more grand in terms of like the spectacle of the attraction as opposed to, you know, like the scares being like subtle or like really creepy and stuff. And that kind of seems like it runs not parallel but similar to how the scare attractions at Halloween Horror Nights seem to be presented as well. And then like I was wondering if Tully's differs in that way to other smaller Scream parks, like just in terms of how much of a spectacle it is, which has probably played a part in leading to how popular Tully's has become and stuff. And then and then Mikey, I was going to ask you about your experience of American Halloween events and Scream parks, if they have them over there, and how they differ to the ones that you've done so many times in the UK and stuff. Because they like Howler Scream at Busch Gardens Williamsburg or Halloween Horror at King's Dominion, to me, seem to, while obviously not on the scale of Halloween Horror Nights, they seem to have similarities in the sense of there's not really much batching. It is kind of like a conga line. The scares are just bam, 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 like one after the other. Whereas, I don't know, I guess I had it always in my head that the Halloween events in the UK are a lot more methodical and maybe a little more strategic, maybe. I don't know. Maybe you can probably speak to that way more than I can.
Yeah, I mean, with comparing UK to America, it'd be unfair for me. I can give my opinion on the few places I've been to, but I haven't done so much in America, unfortunately. Wish I had. I haven't had a chance to go to like the farm parks out there and things like that. I've done Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando and Busch Gardens at Tampa. And in fairness, the difference between those two was night and day, in my opinion, purely because Halloween Horror Nights is a thing in itself because, like Sean said earlier, they're victims of their own success. They have to operate in a completely different way to everywhere else. Purely because of the amount of people, and like you say, it's a conga line. I was really anxious about the conga line because we've all been in a maze in the UK when Alton Towers throw 22 people in a batch, and you're like, there was no bloody point me going through this because I've not seen a thing, so I was really anxious about that. But because they've been doing it so long, their form, you can still get scares. It still does work in their way. I loved Halloween.
Yeah, Sean did make that point when we spoke about Halloween Horror Nights last.
Yeah, and right. it obviously shows it works and it's so popular and things like that. As if someone said to me, like, would you rather just have like this year I'm going to go to like 12, 13 events, hopefully. Like, if they were like, oh, would you like them all to be the same quality as Halloween Horror Nights? I'd 100% say no, purely because the UK stuff that I've experienced, like you say, it's more methodic. It's more intimate. I find that scarier. But and you know what, Busch Gardens, we went on a quieter night, so it was purely just batching 10 people at a time. It was really quite quiet. That Busch Gardens felt a lot more British style for me.
Right, yeah.
But again, like I say, I wish I could compare to Scream parks in America that were like Screamageddon, something like that, where it's a farm park. I'd like to be able to make that comparison.
I think I've watched a lot of vlogs, and it doesn't. They never seem as. We can get away with a lot more in the UK because our people aren't just. We do have a little bit of it, but there's a lot of like red tape in America. People are getting sued left, right, and center. It's like a hobby over there. Do you know what I mean? So I just don't think, unless you're signing waivers and things all the time, I don't think you're gonna get like there's some scare mazes. I mean, even the Merlin mazes at some point were like literally grabbing you and licking you and all sorts of stuff. Like
justice for the underpants, man.
So that's it. And what I'd say was just from my experience, McCall, was that I would call Halloween Horror Nights. I don't really see them as scare mazes. I see them as just like attractions. I see them as like a theme park attraction.
Like
that's the way I see it.
Walkthrough.
It's like a walkthrough. It's like a theme park walkthrough. But then, in the UK, it just if they're doing it right, it feels like a scare maze just because it's more about the senses. It's not as visual. I mean, we do have some places that are absolutely stunning mazes, but it's more about the pure terror of things rather than rather than you said, Nicole, rather than the spectacle of everything going in there, going, Jesus, look at the size of that, or look how nice this looks, and this feels like so authentic. But it's sometimes what I got from Halloween Horror Nights was like it was sometimes it was too well done, like to the point where I'm like, it just feels like you're
too clean.
Like too clean. Yeah, too clean. Yeah. That's probably the best word to use. Whereas, I mean,
like flashy to the point where it's not really like scary anymore.
It feels sometimes it just feels like you're on a film. If you feel like you're on a film set rather than you're in the actual place.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You feel like that's
And that's another point when I went to Halloween Horror Nights again. For me, it's the event, a little bit similar to Tully's in a way, like you say, made that comparison earlier. It's about the atmosphere. I had more fun in the scare zones because they're more one, they're free flow, and two, the actors can have more fun rather than scary set. Scary.
It's unpredictable.
It's a lot more unpredictable, more like the UK scare maze, you know. But with the obviously when we go to Orlando and Hollywood, all these Universal, they have the budgets for insane attractions that they do look beautiful. Although I thought I was going to be more blown away than I was, purely because I do think we take for granted on how insanely well built some sets here in the UK. I mean, a great example. Farmageddon, okay, so their Beast of Terror maze, it's on multi levels. Once you go in, you don't look up and see a lighting rig like you do in many mazes at Halloween Horror Nights. Like, you know, if you look above 10 foot, you can tell, not in all of them, like some mazes are 360, but you can tell you're in a sound stage. Whereas, and I use Beast of Terror as a good example because it's one of the longest mazes in the UK, and it's got so many big props and sets in there. Because you know Halloween Horror Nights is on this pedestal of it's the best theming you'll ever see in your life, and don't get me wrong, it's up there in that 1 or 5%, but there's stuff here in the UK that we have the same of. Or Europa Park in Germany, like you don't feel like you're on, like Sean said, a film set or a sound stage. You feel like you are in that world more so, I feel. But like I say, Halloween Horror Nights, it just can't really be, it can't be touched on atmosphere, and that sometimes makes the night more so than the mazes do anyway. It's all about the formula of of everything, street team shows, lighting, you know, outside of the maze is as much of a spectacle.
And I guess to some degree it can come down to preference as well, in terms of, I'm thinking about just like one's own experience of, you know, either something that is, you know, a spectacle like that, or something that, like you said, is more intimate. The screams, like the scares are more methodical. They're more like right here on you, as opposed to you looking outward to, you know, the spectacle of the set design of whatever and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I guess I am just curious as to when you bring it back to something like Tully's that has had success in a similar kind of fashion to Halloween Horror Nights because of the spectacle. Like, what do you think has, you know, like pushed Tully's, I suppose, in the general view, you know, to a point of recognition and reputation above the smaller parks where you can get, you know, more effective scares possibly. Just like is it kind of indicative of what people focus on one more so than the other? Or
I think with Tully's, they have space, money, and what's the other word I want? Infrastructure. And that they have those three things, it's just they've got the ingredients to make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and as you know, and because they get so many people busy, you know, even on quieter nights, they're busy. I think because of that, they can just add to it and make it more of a spectacle, and it is the atmosphere around the park rather than their actual mazes. Like Sean was saying earlier, some mazes actually seem quite similar. They've got one of the worst hooded mazes in the UK.
Sorry, I'm laughing at something. I just saw a video. It may really, mate.
Share with the group.
I'll share it with you afterwards.
Yeah, I don't like their hooded maze, apart from the fact that there's giant fans in there, which blew my hood off. And then I crawled around trying to pick it back up while staff members shouted at me, and I was like, "Don't put a fucking fan there, then, mate, because it's blowing off."
So yeah, it's a difficult one. Like they also as well have been going such a long time. Like they've been going a lot longer than a lot of other scare attractions.
Yeah.
So they have the following, they have the money, they have the infrastructure, they have the staff. That's another thing. Like we haven't touched on that, and it's not, you know, it's not necessary, but lots of places struggle to get the actors here in the UK.
Oh yeah. That was one thing. You said that about the UK. That's one thing I experienced at Howler Scream and Halloween Haunt in America as well. Is that they the majority of their issues as to why their scare mazes weren't as effective, just for me personally, is because of just the lack of actors in there. There was I remember there was one maze at Howler Scream at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, that was just head and shoulders above the rest of the mazes there, purely because there were more actors in there and just more, you know, more scare opportunities.
Yeah, you can really tell when. Like a prime example of this, I did Creek Freak Massacre in its opening year, and everyone was raving about it, and it was a stunning looking maze. I thought
it was shit.
Well, yeah, but it looked good. It looked good. It sounded good.
It was shit.
But it was. I saw three actors. I saw 3 actors throughout the whole thing. Like terrible. And unfortunately, those sort of attractions that rely on impact scares, because they don't have. You know, lots of places will have other things to scare you. It might be an animatronic. Yes, they need to be placed correctly, or it might be a lighting change, a sound effect, all these things. In there is pretty standard, the same thing throughout the whole thing. So those sort of mazes rely on the actors. And I had three actors in a Merlin scare attraction.
Yeah, that's
is terrible. It's
quite dire.
It's so bad. I've said this a few times, and again, sorry, I keep getting into rabbit holes, but you asked me on. But it's I know when events. Let's be honest. I understand off peak and on peak 100%. You need more ride ups on a Saturday than you do on a Wednesday afternoon. I understand that you need more people in the Burger Kitchen on a Saturday than you do on a Wednesday, but if you're paying for an experience, so if you go and watch Wicked at the West End of a Wednesday, it's not going to be like there's no Alphaba in it, because she's going to have the exact same amount of cast, whether it be a matinee on a Wednesday afternoon or Saturday night. So when it's an event, and these scare attractions are just pieces of theatre, it's Promenade Theatre in horror form, simply. They should. I know it's difficult when you are struggling for actors and things like that, but they, at some parks, because it is quieter days, will have less actors in. And for me, again, I know it's a cost issue. It's all about labor. And again, I totally understand that. You've got to hit those labor costs that you're given from the top. But three people in a maze, man. Do you know what I mean? That's too much cutting.
If you know that's going to be a thing, then you build your mazes based on that. Because if you build
like chop shop at Goodies.
But if you know that, then you have to build that maze to accompany that. Like there's some mazes that are so well built in terms of where the rat runs are put, and like I've seen 3 actors be able to really like work a maze so well. And you don't want it that way, but sometimes it's even just like a when actors are swapping over, you might just go in at the wrong point. And there might just be like a bit of a changeover of the actors, and you might just get 3 people in it. But I know what you mean. Every time I've done Creek Freak, it's always been low on actors. Because I've done it in the daytime, and I just said, I'm like, it shouldn't matter if you're doing it in the daytime or in the nighttime. If you
everyone's paying the same price, so everyone should get the same experience. Yeah,
be the same experience, and that is where, again, going back to Halloween Horror Nights, that's where doing the whole conga and reset thing works for them, because you can literally just do the same run through again and again and again, and it's the same every single time. And sometimes you don't want that, but it's just you've got to build your maze around. If that's what you're facing, then get some more animatronics in. It's a reason I really like Extreme Scream Park. I know that it has batching issues, but name me a place that doesn't have batching issues most of the time. To be fair, I can name a few actually that don't have batching issues. Warsaw Scare Maze doesn't have batching issues because they run their mazes as is. This was their words as well, like block breaks and a roller coaster. So like
you literally
can't enter until that one's cleared, and so you never have people catching up with each other. It's such a clever way.
Same with Passage. You never ever, even on their busiest days. Yes, you might wait a little bit longer than maybe at Extreme, for example. It's every 30 seconds you go in. With Passage, it might be every 3 minutes. They're dealing with less people, so I understand that. But can you believe on those off-peak days of a Passage, one actor can play 4 parts in that maze in one run through? It's mad because it's a well-designed. No, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know.
No, if you can design it so it is that way. But yeah, what I was saying was with Extreme is that like the reason I love that place is because they have a lot of animatronics in that place, and I think they're always really well done. They always like surprise me. But what I love the most about Extreme, going back to like the immersion, I know it's such a stupid word, but it's immersion, right? It's the way that they build their mazes makes me feel like I'm in the place that I'm meant to be. So if I do Pie Factory, everything is like reclaimed, isn't it? It's like everything they get, they just pick up, and it's like I feel like I'm in. Like when they have the Hunting Lodge, like it's so flipping creepy because I'm just like, if this has existed, this is exactly what it would look like.
Extreme,
it's no good.
Extreme. Because they're basically massive dumpster divers. They love to get real stuff. Like we did Behind the Screams with them back in 2017. They were building the Village, and the Village is one of the biggest, longest, most epic scare attractions in the UK, I reckon. Again, we spoke about the actors thing a bit earlier. They sometimes can struggle to fill it because it is that long.
That was my issue. I've done it once.
It is a shame. And it really, really
Which
does
one?
affect
all of them, or
I think we went 2019, and again the batching was a humongous problem. But second of all, mazes just didn't have actors.
So because we've been through 3 times now. We went a 4th, but that was that special one they did for Friday the 13th, which was just Pie Factory. But every time we've done it, like I don't know if me and Joe have just got lucky, but I mean we do go out. We always try and go off peak to these things, so we go in the week, and it's just like we always have really good run throughs. They always pack. The only one I'm always disappointed with is what the hell is it called? The prison one. That is just too long.
That was my favourite.
Ashhall Penitentiary.
I cut my hand open. It was dead good.
They just don't feel it. It's just too. Even though there's a lot of actors in there, it doesn't feel like a lot of actors. But it's got such good potential because the first run through we did on it was so bloody good. Like
I enjoyed the beginning bit in there. I don't know whether it's the same, but back when I did it, they had the flashing lights in there, so it flashed a couple of times, and then it would just go pitch black for like 3 seconds, and in them 3 seconds, all the actors would move. And then it'd flash, and they'd be here and stuff. That's where I walked into the wall. But
they've got, like,
that was probably my favourite one. But yeah, I would like to go back there because, like I said, I've obviously just went on a shit night, and batching was horrendous. Even though back when it was Stilton Hall, we were the only people in the queue. Yeah, they sent us in directly after the other people, and we conquered through to the degree where the actors essentially gave up. because they were just like, "What's the point?" And they just wander around and go, "What's the fucking point?"
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
That's the issue with them is they have the creativity is amazing, some of the best, but what they lack compared to the likes of Trullers and things like that is that word against infrastructure. Queue lines, they don't have a proper queue line for the mazes, and it would just
they just all mosh into one. You know what I mean?
You must have not been in a while because they have proper queue lines.
Well, this is why I said I'd like to go back because
Ash Hole has its own queue line. Pie Factory,
but it never used to. Never
used
used
to that long that they were coming out of the queues and kind of meeting. It was
Village is like so around the way that it naturally has a queue on the path, but you don't have to go. You used to have to walk past the village to get to Pie Factory, but now Pie Factory's entrance is like the other side.
They moved it back where to it originally was. When it first opened,
yeah. So that's. But again, I haven't been on an insanely. That's when you have. That's the test of any event, isn't it? Is like the busy days. How do they cope under that pressure?
Yeah.
And if they can't, like, don't oversell it. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't if you know that you can't.
Do you know what I mean? Simple as I know it's money
at the end of the day, but really. I mean,
don't oversell because you're going to get negative reviews. People won't go like Emma, you're saying you've been, and you're like you would like to go back, but the batching was terrible.
It's not been top of my list since.
Yeah,
places that I've been to where I've been and I've gone, do you know what, I'm going back next year.
Which is a shame because
I've not thought about going back.
There were some years for me where I was like, that was my number one night. Like there was a good
it's
time.
It's hit and miss, isn't it? It really
so
is hit and miss.
Yeah.
But then, like you say, that's the weird thing. Be like that.
That's the weird thing for us is like it's always been a hit. So it's it would be worth going back trying it again because even like we've taken people who've never been before. Like even when we took Gemma and Chris had been years ago, and then like him and Gemma come, and they both said like Village was like the best maze they've ever done, and it is still my favorite maze.
And it can be, yeah.
We'd been back from Halloween Horror Nights like 2 weeks, and we went to Extreme, and I was like, that beat anything that was at Halloween Horror Nights for me. Like I say, if it's done well, it's just so good. But you just got to try and get on an off-peak day if you can.
That's the nature of the beast, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, scare attractions, consistency is the hardest thing for them to ever get. I think the only true consistent attractions in the UK really are Passage, Walsall Scare Maze. Anything else really is you can't get that consistency just because groups are bigger, smaller, you're catching up with people, and acting needs to go on a break, so you miss it one time, you don't get. Even at Halloween Horror Nights, which are the most the formula they have is so strategic because it's so busy. If you get there on a cast change, you'll miss loads of scares, or if you're just in the wrong place, you'll see more resets than scares. Whereas, a ride is the same every time, give or take, depending on where you sit in that nighttime, daytime, that sort of thing. With a theatre show, 9 times out of 10, it's 90% the same. With a scare attraction, consistency is the hardest thing that they can get, which is why we can come out of a maze and go, oh, that was intense. Like me and you, Emma, the perfect example was Freak Out a couple of years ago, and at Towers, and me and Hannah went through and had the worst run we'd ever had through it. You and Carl went through after us and said it was the best run you ever had it.
Yeah.
I only saw a handful of actors. You said, oh my God, there was loads. Consistency is just so difficult.
Right, so I want to ask you another question, Mikey. Right, we've sat here and we've talked about like some of the big hitters, so to speak, the more well-known places in the UK that people go to. Is there any places that you would say that are lesser known, but you would urge people to really give a go to? They're like a hidden gem.
I'm good. A good one would be I've only got a chance to go to their first year, but there's another one called Fear Factory. I think it's in Preston this year. They have moved year on year, but I went to go and do their first ever attraction, and it was more theatrical scares, but it was probably one of the best scare attractions I've ever visited. And it was just a random small little thing in an old mall. So, it is a mall now, but it used to be like a big factory, and it was on the top floor, and it was really cool. They have moved locations since, but from what I remember,
said it's in Morecambe this year.
Is it Morecambe? Sorry, thank you, Kira. the just the level of quality of acting, scares, storytelling, it was so just random, not that many people knew about it as such because it was so small. That for me was, like I say, one of the best pieces of theatre I've ever seen. But I'd also, as well, even though we've mentioned it, I probably would also, I'd put Walsall Scare Maze in that bracket to a point as well, purely because it's in the middle of Walsall, behind
you wouldn't know it
the bar.
where you walk past it.
No.
Yeah.
And the thing is if you say to people, oh yeah, it's behind a bar in Walsall, people instantly think it's got to be a marquee with a bunch of bin bags, right? Like it can't be that special.
I was
and
shocked.
It genuinely is. Yeah. It's so good.
I was like, it's an actual building. Like,
it's a whole
levels.
thing,
it's ridiculous.
with proper. The guy built a lift, an actual sort of lift by himself within the maze. It was better than anything that you do in Subterra. It's all homegrown. They make it, but because
we're promising a drop tower there. I mean, it was really good.
No, so I meant the lift you go in and out of.
Yeah.
No,
it was
way better than that.
Yeah.
Way better.
Yeah, it is.
But because it is just one maze in the middle of Walsall, I feel that if you're not Midlands based, so many people of this crazy theme park and scare attraction communities that do, interlock quite a bit, so many people miss out on it because they may see it as a waste of a night as such. Because if you've got a night up and you think, oh, I'm going to go to Tully's, I'm going to go to Fear, I've got 5 mazes there, 7 mazes there, 4 at Dr. Fright's. This place, you are just going. You do have to wait quite a bit to get in, but it's worth it for the end product.
Yeah.
But I think it goes under people's radar, especially in the theme park community, because it's not at a theme park. It's not even at a screen park. It's just in a pub.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I'll say that is a hidden gem to a lot of the northern and southern people, because it's only really us Midlanders-ish that go.
I think a lot of people tend to, especially last couple of years, it's one of them ones that people go, oh, I've heard that's really good. I'll hopefully get around to it, and they don't make the effort to.
They don't actually do it,
like they would make the effort to go to one of these big screen parks. But like everyone I know who's gone and done it, I mean, last year it was at the night at the Manor, at Drayton Manor. There's big, like, loads of people had gone there for like the media night, and then suddenly there was probably about 25 of us, because there's people from like the north and the south. Everyone's like, yeah, let's just go there afterwards. Bought tickets. Everyone went. And for me and Joe, it was great because we were just seeing everyone's like first reaction to this. The people who have been to like all the big ones, been to like Halloween Horror Nights as well, coming out and being like, that is like one of the best mazes they've done. Especially that season. And people were even saying that was like the highlight, So it was really good to see that. Yeah. So if people can like make that extra effort to get out to Walsall, it's not that far from the train station in Walsall. So if you can get to the train station in Walsall, I think it's probably safer to get a taxi because it's Walsall.
Get a taxi. Get a taxi.
100% get a taxi. And afterwards, you can just go and party.
Yeah, exactly. It's an awesome bar. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's got DJ. Sometimes it has drag acts on. It's the best night out. You can make a night of it.
So then you can go there and then you can go and get drunk and dance. So go, please.
It's right up our street,
I have a great time.
Cool. Are we at the end of the episode? Are we at the end? Or is there any more we want to mention? Because we've got time if we want to.
I don't know.
Got any others or are you all out of ideas?
No.
Go on, Mike. Go on your rant about theme park scammers versus farm scammers.
Sometimes people watch this podcast. You may be advised to watch what you say.
I've already had threatening emails from theme parks. And been taken off press lists, but I want to keep my integrity. I don't want to lie to people. Do you know what I mean? It's I'm never gonna shit on a place. It's unfair. Like there's still a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and money that go into these things, and I can respect that. But as a whole, I'll just say independents and these screen parks, maybe they have less red tape, maybe they have less cooks in the kitchen, and that's what ruins these bigger parks sometimes. There's too many cooks in the kitchen. Marketing want this, and ents want this, and promotions want this, and stuff like that. So I just feel that because they make their own decisions as such, I just feel that they can create, or have in the past create better attractions and better nights out as a whole, if that makes sense. A lot of people have agreed Towers has got very stale over the last few years. We haven't even mentioned Daz Games, which is I mean, I'm hoping it's awesome. Like it's with what's going on behind the scenes and whatnot, like it should be really, really great, but I don't know who this guy is. It's already put a bit of a sour taste in my mouth because it's just some random YouTuber.
I think,
I'm hoping it's great, but it's a very weird route to go down for a scare attraction. The two worlds to me don't fit. Granted, he watches horror games or something.
Yeah.
So for Towers' market, it might be perfect, but I don't know.
I think the best way to think about it, obviously, I have more knowledge than a lot of other people about how it is, but honestly, like, for people who are like concerned about it, like, I don't know who it is, why would I be excited about it? It's like going to Halloween Horror Nights and you haven't seen a film, you haven't seen a Halloween film, and you're gonna go do I haven't seen Halloween, so why the fuck would I go about that? Or I don't know who this made up character of this new maze at a farm screen park is. You got to see the person as a character, because he very much is a character, really.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, for people who are like a bit like gutted about it and stuff, like, if people keep saying, I said this before by podcast, but I was like, people are screaming out, but we want Sanctuary back. We want Subspecies back. We want like all these things, all these mazes that Pete Cliff designed back in the day. Pete Cliff is designing this maze through Conductor, who obviously worked on a lot of the Curse at Altar Manor stuff as well. The visuals, Conductor did all that. So I think that alone should be enough to get people excited.
Yeah,
like
his past record is pretty damn good.
Pete don't make stuff that's like rubbish or half-assed or just to attach a name to something. Like I think a lot of people will be like surprised about
I hope
those
so,
games.
yeah. I hope.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a go. Like, you've got to try these things. I'm interested.
And if it's not, I'll be like, okay, sorry. But like, I think people, I think people still, I think people are a bit like scarred. I think people are a bit scarred from the invitation. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think people are still like, they're thinking it's going to be. They're just a bit wary about it now. But honestly, like, I think with obviously, I'm biased. Like, Towers is like my favorite theme park in the UK. It's the reason I'm enthusiast. I also work with the park quite closely, but at the end of the day, like, Scarefest has always been. It used to be my favorite. It's got what got me into going to scare stuff, and it has become stale. And the thing I said last year, I even said it in my vlog, I said they need scare zones. They need to have at least something new. Technically, we've got 2 new ones with the revamp, and we've got a scare zone this year. So it's kind of like, let's just
positive
see. Let's just see where it goes, because last year was a very samey year. Like it was the same, and and if we can up the ends there. But I think one thing, sorry, going back to what you were saying about like, you can have a better night out at a screen park. The way I always see it in my head is it's like I view them as almost two separate things. Like these big parks can't compete with some of the screen parks in terms of, like you say, red tape. There's probably a smaller creative teams behind the scenes, so more things can be done. But also, they can't compete with a day out at Alton Towers and a day out at Thorpe with all the coasters. So it really is like, what do you like to go out of your day? Is it just for a night, a couple of hours? If you're driving, you're not having a drink, so you're not really having a night out. Or do you want to like spend? Do you want to go to? Day. Yeah, do you want to go to Thorpe Park Fright Nights, do all the coasters, do all the mazes in the daytime, and then do all your night rides? That's probably what you'd really like. Yeah. So that's what I would like. I think there's always been this thing of like, these are better. Like, in my opinion, it's just like,
Well, it's a good point.
Very different.
You say that, to be fair. Like a few ScareCons when theme parks do their seminars, things like that. Obviously, they always do feedback surveys and things like that. And they ask, what's the main reason you came to Fright Nights, Scarefest? And number one is always night rides. So scare attractions are actually second to them anyway, to the general public at theme parks. Whereas at a Scream Park, obviously their number one would be for the mazes. So that just reiterates your point. They are two totally different entities as such, I guess. I think that we just tar them with the same brush purely because we're kind of, with it. For example, I might get to Towers and not actually do the daytime, just get there ready for when the mazes open at 1 o'clock. Do you know what I mean? And not do many rides again. But we're very different to, we go to Blackpool, do Icon, then drink an FY4 all day. So very different to
I do not.
What? Very different to your usual theme park goer. So not our opinions are wrong or anything, but our visions of what we enjoy and like will be different. And that's what we all forget as enthusiasts anyway. We and Daz Games might be a pure example of that. The fact that we're all enthusiasts wanting screams and scares and all that sort of thing. Actually, having Daz Games on board might be the best thing ever for Towers. So,
mate, if you've seen the amount of people who like Daz Black needed security to walk around on Towers because there's just that famous. Like it's just insane. And
I know who Daz Black is. Like I got kids, right? So I know he is. He started off on Vine years ago, and then he's ended up on YouTube, right? And it was like reaction videos is what he does, but then he ended up doing like a separate thing of like reacting to horror films and stuff. It is actually quite funny. Like don't blame him, but that man is really. Wouldn't work for you, Michael. This
no, I mean watching
is really, really popular.
Sure, you did.
No, like this guy is really fucking popular. Like my kids tell me about.
I've literally never heard of him.
All the time. At school,
I had not, but that's because
at school
that's because we're old. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If I didn't have kids,
I'm not a child. Neither do I have children. So,
but if both of my kids, if I knew who they were through my kids, because I've seen them before all of this, sitting watching videos or whatever, and then in the playground, I've heard kids talking about them and stuff like that. So if you think on like one level of like, there's a few kids in terms of like the UK, like he is like the British YouTuber for kids.
Yeah, he's
So bringing him on board from a marketing point of view, like I've said this before and stuff, he's going to get people that wouldn't necessarily go to Scarefest, but then these kids are going to watch the advert and go, "Oh my god,
it's an interesting move for sure.
Let's go."
Yeah,
well,
so obviously,
from a money making point of view.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously we did the ad, that first ad that went out for it, and obviously I was like keeping an eye on like engagement on it, and it was just went through the roof, like equal to like the Nemesis stuff we did, it was just like the engagement from it, the reshares from it, like even on the YouTube video on that actual Towers thing, like it was getting shared like crazy, and I guess for them, like that's invaluable stuff. I don't want it to become like, don't get me wrong, from an enthusiast point of view, I don't want it to become this the norm. I don't want a Sidemen like Maze next year, but
sponsored by Prime.
I just think before people like judge it too much, just see how they integrate like a character like that into it, like, and gone, actually they've not just picked someone out of the blue, like they've gone, actually it might be a good fit for the maze, for the theme of it and stuff. So just give it I'd say just give it a chance. I think most people will, most people who are not looking forward to it, but I hope it. I'm
going to try it. I'm to be honest, I'm looking forward to try it. Like, if I've got to use me noggin, I don't like hold much hope for myself. But
do you know what age? What is it? 15 plus still?
No, they've lowered it now. What it is? Yeah, they lowered it a few years ago. I think it's like they're not as strict as they used to be on it. I believe.
Finley did the mazes at Towers last year.
Yeah, I think Finley
was. He'd have just turned 13 last year. I think it was 12.
I think he was 12, wasn't he? Yeah.
But it was 12 with like parental, like, if you think your child at 12. can do it.
Yeah, because I remember Darkest Depths used to be their younger
kid one. Yeah,
and
hey,
now
it's well scary.
it was so scary.
I got the best
Depths
scares
is
in Darkest Depths. Yeah, it's really good. And then it was last year they made them all sort of the same, but I wasn't sure if it was all like I said, I remember going through with Finley and he was 12, so I don't know what the age the target market is for Daz games.
It's
and
now
if they correlate.
It's now all the mazes are. It just says recommended for those age 12 plus, and I know for a fact that it used to be you had to be.
Yeah,
I think it was like 13 or 14. I think it used to be you had to be like that.
Yeah,
and they asked for proof as well because we used to see it in the queue, like people getting turned away from it.
How do you get proof of your kid's age without taking a blooming passport or certificates, guys?
What was that? Connections card.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Citizens card or something.
I think it is down to parents. Like I said last year, it was a case of
what they
do
used
I
to
think
do.
my child can handle it? You know, because you might like look at Lola, she's fucking nails, mate. She'd stroll through these things, whereas like she's 9, you know. So you probably would get younger kids in it because you know what some kids are like, they don't give a fuck about horror. They are fucking hard as nails. So I think it is a case of
hard as what?
Not hard as owls, no.
I used to run, a fair few years ago, we actually ran a scare attraction for kids.
It wasn't for kids, Michael. I've seen that video.
That's my point. It was right without blowing out trumpets. It was bloody scary, like proper intense, and like we used all the same tactics you'd use in a proper adult scare mazes. And we had kids as young as 5 go through. 5-year-olds going through, absolutely loving it. Don't get me, some of them shut their pants, but a vast majority of 5 to 11-year-olds absolutely loving it, whilst we had grown adults actually wee themselves. Like, so it's fear is a weird thing. You're only scared of 2 things when you're born, and you learn to be scared of everything else. So you know, kids with clowns, most kids aren't scared of clowns, but so many adults are scared of clowns. So it's mad how the psychology of it, again, I'm getting into a rabbit hole, but the psychology of it just show that, like you say, Lola could probably handle a crazy chainsaw maze way more better than Hannah could. Do you know what I mean? Like, because she's terrified of chainsaws. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I was just thinking age-wise because of Daz, you know, Daz Black. I don't know what his market is.
What they used to do was, I just remembered this because I remember when we took Paige and niece for the first time years ago, and we just they kept asking her for a birthday. So it was like, if they'd be like, how old are you? Oh, I'm this old. What's your birthday? And then if they couldn't like say the birthday, they'd be like, no, it's not for you.
Yeah.
And I'd seen a lot of people get turned away for it, but no, it didn't used to say recommended. It used to say like you had to be a certain age. So yeah, I'm sure that changed last year. I'm sure it did.
I think it was. Yeah.
I remember it being a big thing where it's just like now you could just go. So
interesting.
So that's that.
There's one thing that I had thought about earlier in the episode, but I completely forgot about. And then Joe and I think Lloyd in the chat mentioned it as well. Just to finish, I guess we can just finish after this, but. Horror at Hinchinbrook House. Now, I know next to nothing about this house, or just this attraction, but from way back when your experience guide was Pleasure Beach Experience, and they did their Halloween vlogs, one of them being through Hinchinbrook House and everything, I gained the impression that it was one of the more quote unquote intense scare attractions in the UK, and you know, a couple of people were asking about it in the chat. How do you feel about that house? Is there some kind of, do you have to sign a waiver for it or something like that, or I had heard that at some point, you know, years ago, but yeah, how do you generally feel about that attraction, Mikey?
I've not had chance to go down, unfortunately.
What a terrible enthusiast.
Mate, there's only so many days.
Even I've done Horror at Hinchinbrook House, Michael, and
there's only so many days in October. There's so many attractions, and I have something that is called a job that stops me doing them. And I tend to use my holiday because I have these friends that take me to Oktoberfest and MotoGP and something. So I'm
they
struggling.
sound amazing.
They're great. They're good guys.
Sound like stand-up people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I have done.
I've not had a chance to go, unfortunately. So I watched Emma's vlog. It looks sick. To be fair,
it's a good one. Yeah.
Take it away, Emma.
Horror at Hinchinbrook House for me is equal parts. Like I stated before, about it's obviously a continuous maze. It lasts about 45 minutes if you're walking at like a normal speed. It's equal parts stupidly intense, but also a little bit boring. It's one of them, where it kind of, even though it's in like an old school, it's on like 90 acres of land, which they've got all the space in the world, and they utilize like the house as well as their land, whether that be outside walking areas or marquees or huts or things like that. So you go in everywhere basically, and it's kind of split up into like themed sections, whether that sections are split off by a marquee outside or just walking through a door. Like a completely, like you can't see through, straight into another room and stuff. It is intense in the sense that I don't know whether it's the same for everybody else, but I was manhandled in there. They do touch you, they do grab you. You don't have to sign a waiver or anything like that. You literally just watch a video before you go in that lasts 30 seconds to say they're going to touch you, kind of thing.
Fair enough.
They will pin you against a wall. They will get you in a headlock. I ended up being kicked over and sat on the floor, and I wasn't allowed to get up and things like that. And it is, but then also you'll go out the building and you'll be walking for 5-10 minutes in pitch black with just some fairy lights and nothing happening. So it's
it loses the intensity in those longer bits. A bit like Scare City we were chatting about earlier, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. That it's kind of like these longer walk through attractions. It's not. It can't always be completely full on. Everyone had a fucking heart attack, wouldn't they? But But Hinchinbrook House for me is like I would definitely recommend it because it's something completely different. Like I say, it's 45 minutes, and it's from the moment you walk in the door to the moment you walk out. It's not like you're going to stop. You have to keep walking.
Yeah.
But it's also there is quite a few dead spots.
Joe said, I really want to go this year. Emma's selling it. I don't know if she's being sarcastic or not. Is she being sarcastic? Or...
so easily pleased. Could I sell this? No, I would recommend going because it is something completely different.
Because Joe asked about it. Before.
I went a couple of years ago. Everything changes. Do you know what I mean? If you want intense scares, it will give you intense scares. Like I say, they will. Some of it is really bloody intense. I've got some like stills and video footage from that night, and I'm shitting a brick. But then there's also times where I went with Carl, obviously, and just walking around going like, right, okay.
I've been like that in some mazes where I'm really scared. I'm anticipating something, and then it suddenly goes from anticipation and fear to like, can actually something happen now?
Yeah.
It's the worst.
You get that silence and that darkness sometimes, and sometimes that can be enough because you can get 30 seconds of pitch black silence and you shit yourself because you know something's coming. But when that pitch black silence goes on for 5 minutes, it's like, okay, now
it sounds like the Blair Witch effect when it's just full of just anticipation and tension build up and build up and build up, and then after like 50 minutes you realize, okay, nothing's actually happened.
Nothing
actually happens throughout the entire movie.
Something will happen. Like I said, everything just generally seems to be split up, and you'll go like for me, the best bit was the bit that was inside the house, which is like a school. That was the best bit because you would walk through the rooms and it would just be like you are walking through someone's house, wooden doors. So you were going to open this door and you would not know what's on the other side. It's not a case of like a fear flat where you kind of like, it's a completely separate room, And I found that was more intense, whereas a lot of the outside bits, the finale was brilliant years ago. Carl legged it faster than I've ever seen that man move in my life. I mean, Carl doesn't run for no one, but he ran, mate. And yeah, some of them were just like white marquees, and someone would just reach out and tickle your leg. There'd be a room full of that. You know, it swings around abouts, but like you say, you can't have it madness all the way through.
I'd love to go through a tickle room.
And then we also had our experience spoilt by like a couple of actors as well, but obviously that's never going to happen normally. Because we had a camera in our hand, it made a bit of a difference. It does sometimes, but
someone
I would recommend it.
Mentioned you were talking about having a camera in your hand. Someone mentioned in the chat earlier how people watch people's vlogs and then go and experience it and say they had hardly any actors compared to the press nights and things like that. One, it's sort of like, I get why they'd have their A team on press night. Of course they will. Like if you're going again, I'm bringing it back to let's talk about if you go to Gordon Ramsay's new restaurant on the press night of this new premiere, you are gonna have probably Gordon Ramsay in that kitchen with those people, things like that. If you go 2 months down the line, he's not going to be there. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have the same quality of product, but I can understand why they will amp stuff up because it is press. That's just what they do. It's like TV. It's like TV. It's all fake. It's like TV. But likewise as well, that it's also unfair because they're selling it based on something that isn't an actual representation potentially. Sorry, you just having the camera in your hand just reminded me of that.
Yeah, no, I've said it before on here that sometimes when like I'm really honored to be invited to press events, and it's a lovely thing that comes along with vlogging, but I have been put in situations where I felt guilty because I've gone to an event and I don't lie, and I've genuinely had the most incredible night. And then I've had friends or people on Park that have come up to me and gone like, I went to this event because I watched your vlog and you said it was phenomenal and it was awful. And then I feel guilty. I mean, I've not lied. It's just the two different, experiences that people are getting. But I feel guilty because I think people have got to spend their hard-earned money off my opinion, which they're either going to think I'm a liar or
which brings it get back to the integrity thing I said earlier as well. Is like there's some events where it's a bit like it's a shit sandwich. You say something nice, but there will be something wrong, and you say something bad again. Like it's not lying. Like there was a certain event I went to a few years ago, and this is the conundrum. Like I'm genuinely always truly honored that anyone would give me a press invite. I'm just a guy with a microphone that likes to talk about scare attractions, and I'm genuinely always really appreciative of it. It's so nice. But on the same side as well, like you say, you are going to get the best overall experience, and you might get a different experience to others, and it doesn't. And then, when I went to this one night, the night was terrible. It was really bad, and it was a very high. It's up there on a pedestal when it comes to UK Scream, UK theme park scares, and on my vlog, I said, this is probably the weakest year, unfortunately, in a long time. And everyone around me off camera was agreeing, saying, what the hell was tonight? That was terrible. What they've dropped the ball there. Yet when I go home and watch their vlogs, it's all, thanks so much for inviting us. We have had the best night ever. And I'm not going to name names, but that's why sometimes we get a little bit of shit for it. We get in trouble for it, and we have been kicked off press passes and things like that. But I'm not going to lie to people, like you say, Emma. There's been mazes. We've done a lot of mazes together, and we have come out going, that was amazing. And then exactly what you said. People will go, I did that maze and I had 4 people in it, and it was terrible. And it's all those sort of things that just make it a little bit difficult when doing what we do as such.
I also don't think people bear in mind that normally press nights or media nights are done like right at the start of the run, and then like, of course, actors are going to have more gusto, and there's going to be more of a when it's opening night. They haven't just done 5 nights straight of just screaming in people.
And it's hard work.
It's
really hard,
physically taxing, and also like the extra having a camera in your face is going to obviously make you. So even if it's sometimes it's probably not even planned to be like, oh, But there's a reason they're going to do the press nights just to begin with, because one, they want to get all the reviews out to begin with as well, but also they just know that it's going to be probably, I say, the best it can. To be honest, a lot of places, if they're new, the actors tend to get better as they go along. But
yeah, like mid-season peak.
Yeah, like my experience of it, what I'm saying is my experience of an attraction doing it like in the afternoon on the first day of the event, or maybe the second day event, is going to be so different if I went and had the same team of scare actors right at the end of the run, when they're all having to have like cough suites just to be able to talk to each other, because that's how bad they can get sometimes. So there's also that as well. And again, because you're dealing with people, it's not mechanical. You're dealing with people working with people who are trying to scare people. Like people are notoriously hard to manage. Or there's so much room for like variance to go there. But yeah, I think it's there are definitely some events I've done where the experience has been completely different to what the actual offering was in the end. I mean, I'll just say it, like Journey to Hell, the first time I did that, the actual experience that people got afterwards was so drastically different that I just didn't release the vlogs. So it was just, I don't know if that was on purpose by the park, because like something could have changed. But what I was hearing like 2 days afterwards, I was like, well, that was like, wasn't even the same event that I did. So I was like, this vlog is now outdated, so I can't even put it up. So
it's a good example, to be fair. I think that's probably one that me and Emma were thinking as well.
That was the one that I've had most people being a theme park, scares, and being theme park predominantly vloggers. That was the main one where people were like, well, you said it was really good, so I went and it wasn't very good. And I'm like, it
is one of the most well, it used to be anyway. I haven't been in a couple of years. I do want to try and get to this year's one, but yeah, it was just like for a little while, it was just like, it just seemed like it was just different every night you went, like for one reason or another. Like it just seemed to change around. So it was a really hard one to review, because so many people getting different opinions off it. So
yeah. Again, it brings it back to that consistency thing anyway. It's so hard to keep them consistent, but when potentially a park are actually creating that inconsistency themselves, that's just another layer of making it totally different, hence why we're bringing it back to HHN. That is probably most consistent, because they don't need cough suites, because it's a noise that they're
that does it for them.
Exactly. So that's what they're thinking of the longevity, the consistency, that sort of thing, which does, again, bringing it back to what we were saying, it does take away from the intimacy of it anyway. So you can't win. It's the nature of the beast, but we all bloody love him. So
yeah, I'd put up a very good point, to be honest. To throw another angle with press night, actors feel safer going in it on a press night with the general public. There's way more of a chance of a bad reaction and being punched. Sad reality. And I don't think people realize like how much this goes on, because you see like a big outrage on Twitter now and again. Like I saw some like people going to town because I guess like threw some water over an act at Halloween Horror Nights, and there's obviously the certain nights throughout the year as well where it can get really leery in the UK. But I'm like, if you speak to most actors or people who run events, like it just comes with the job. Like they will get punched, and it's so sad that happens. It's horrible. Just a bit like,
it's shitty that there's people like that. But I mean, we see it. I mean, I work with the public. I see it every day. It's just heightened in that sort of scare atmosphere. And that's why they used to do the hands on shoulders thing.
Yeah,
I discussed this the other day, and hands on shoulders was one mainly there for safety of actors, and because people's hands tend to sort of stay where they are, sort of thing. If someone wants to hit someone, they're still going to do it. It still happened. But I remember discussing with people who run these events, and they said that taking the hands off shoulders actually didn't affect them as much as they thought it would. I'm glad they didn't do it that much anymore, because it just takes away. It's just awkward to do it. It takes away from the whole thing. I'm glad that it's more so of a thing of the past nowadays. But that just goes to show that people are dicks, because they were, the fact that taking away the hands on shoulders thing hasn't really upped it or lowered the amount of times actors get physically and verbally abused.
Yeah, exactly. But, yeah. Right, I think we come to the end. We come to 10 o'clock. That is the official last cut-off point. So, yeah, thank you so much, Mikey, for coming on.
Thanks for having us, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, good.
Sorry, I can talk for England, but
that's why we had you on, mate.
Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Feel the dead air that we normally have. No, I'm joking, we don't.
Wow.
I mean,
taking shots at your co-podcasters.
Check what chain dogs and dead air go hand in hand, do they, on this? Can't get a word in edgeways normally. So yeah, no, thank you so much. You're telling me, McCall. So yeah, no, thank you so much for joining us as well. To everyone who's watching, just a reminder again, please, if you are listening to this on podcast form, come and get involved every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on the YouTube channel, Chain Dogs Podcast YouTube channel. Make sure you give the podcast, this video, a like if you can. If you're on your phone or whatever, give that a like. And yeah, we will we'll see you next week. But hold on before I go. Anyone got anything they want to talk about? Any content that's coming up?
I posted my Oakwood vlog the other day.
Yeah,
that's out. And just, well, I imagine it's going to be the same with you, Sean, that there'll be lots of content out over the next 4 weeks. And Mikey, because it's spooky season and there's all sorts going on. Stop selling those things.
That's I was about to say, because I just assume that people know who Mikey is. Where can people find you?
Well, I won't give you my address, but so yeah, no, I appreciate it. So basically, go to scaretrack.co.uk. You can literally get everything there. Our podcast is on nearly every single. Oh, that's sexy, Sean. Thanks very much. You can check us out on literally any podcast platform. All our videos are on YouTube, or on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Just search for Scare Track. But yeah, literally absolutely everything there is under the website umbrella as well. So head to the website. We do merch as well, just saying. Just to wind Emma up. Hey mate, you can talk. You rep that Scare Track jacket all the time. So
only to get into scare events. I'm with Scare Track.
I'm part of your team. That's why I get invited.
Because she's been stealing my content for the last 3 years.
Exactly. People they get confused about who's who. So
yeah. Hi, I'm Hannah, and I'm Mikey's wife. Hey, I'll start your wife.
Oh yeah, Emma, what was your fact? Quickly.
Oh no, I don't have a fact. It's fine.
No, you can say the fact if you want.
No, it's fine.
Joe's dying to know the fact.
You probably already know this.
Joe knows the facts.
So we were doing a video out on Towers, and we was like, we need like a German coaster to do this. And then I was like, well, Gerstlauer is German. And then I was like, let me just I know it's German, but let me just double check it. And I didn't know Gerstlauer based in Bavaria, like literally Bavaria. And I was like, that's mad. I was like, that's where, by the way, that's where Oktoberfest is, the actual Oktoberfest and the whole traditions and stuff. And I was like, so that's just a fact that Emma likes to throw around now and pretend it's
only because Sean was so proud of his fact that at random points over the weekend, I'd go to other people who hadn't heard it and go, oh my God, can I tell you a fact? And Sean would get really annoyed. It's like,
that's my fact. So yeah. So this Oktoberfest season, while it's still on, go and go show some love to a Gerstlauer. Any Gerstlauer. Go for it. Have a Steinen, I guess. No, don't do that.
Sound like a charity event for Gerstlauer. Go give a Gerstlauer £2
a month. Been a while. All right, everyone. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye, everyone.